Good morning, everyone. Happy Saturday to you and your loved ones. I hope your weekend is getting off to a fantastic start. And more important than it just being another Saturday, as good as Saturdays are, I also want to wish you an incredibly happy and joyful World Porridge Day. You know, I read yesterday that more than 500 hours of content is uploaded to this website, YouTube, every single minute. 500 hours of footage every minute of every day uploaded to YouTube. So that mind-boggling statistic makes me and the Mary's Meals team even more grateful and thankful that you've chosen to join us for Mary's Meals UK's fairly humble wee family hour, coming to you live today from my kitchen in Glasgow. And we're going to be going live to a number of other kitchens today too, and I'll tell you more about that in just a few minutes. This is our third live streamed event of this type, and I really just want to thank everyone who's provided the very positive feedback which has encouraged us to keep going with this family hour format. We appreciate your comments very much, and please do continue to let us know what you think of these online events. I'd love to share just one email we've had since we started doing this. One supporter, Alice, wrote to us to say, "Hello, I joined you for a family hour for the first time recently. I've been a supporter regularly of Mary's Meals for some time. I've read about your work and I've seen one of your films, but I've never heard the team talking in this way. And it was so great to hear them on Zoom, like I might my own family. I was so happy and encouraged. It's both heartbreaking and exciting to hear of all the children on the waiting list for your meals. I want to be one of the many reasons they don't have to wait for long." Alice says she wants to be one of the many reasons that the children waiting for Mary's Meals don't have to wait for long. So thank you, Alice, for those words, which were such an encouragement to all of us at Mary's Meals. I think they pointed at some of the most important and enduring things about this mission of Mary's Meals. You know, that all of us involved in this work are an extended global family from all walks of life, and we simply won't accept that any child should go hungry in this world of plenty. And where there are queues of children waiting to receive our meals, we are desperate and driven and determined to reach them as soon as we possibly can. You know, and it's only because of the huge generosity of people like Alice and you, our supporters around the UK and around the world, that today Mary's Meals is able to feed 1.6 million children with a nutritious daily meal. But with so many children still hungry and so many children still out of school, our work really is only just beginning. But today, amid the huge difficulties and challenges we're all continuing to face with this COVID-19 pandemic, let's stop and take an hour to celebrate what we're all achieving together and the importance of one very simple dish to those achievements. And that simple dish is porridge. This morning, I started my day by making my wife Jen and my wee boy Isaac some big hearty bowlfuls of porridge. And for so many like us, porridge is simply a nutritious and satisfying breakfast. Whether you prefer yours plain or with sugar, or as my granny did, with salt, our humble oats are quite easy to take for granted. But for hundreds of thousands of impoverished children being fed by Mary's Meals each school day in Malawi, in Zambia, in Zimbabwe, vitamin-enriched maize porridge acts as a vital lifeline and a powerful incentive to come to school. And it's this incredible impact which all of us involved in the work of Mary's Meals celebrate today on World Porridge Day. In Malawi, our porridge is known as lakuni pala. And I still remember one of the first children I ever met on my first ever visit to Malawi some years back. She was a little girl called Joyce, who just lost her parents quite recently at that point to AIDS. Joyce told me that the pala, the porridge, was usually her only meal of the day, that it made it possible for her to come to school, and that it helped her concentrate on her studies. And I was really interested in that trip, my first to Malawi, some years back, as I said, in what the kids thought of the porridge. And I asked her, "Joyce, how do you think the porridge tastes?" And Joyce gave me a huge smile and she said, "It tastes like chocolate." And that was really a bit surprising to me, because though the pala is nice, it certainly doesn't taste like chocolate. So I asked Joyce if she's ever tasted chocolate before. And she said to me, no, but I know it's supposed to taste really, really good. And the porridge is the nicest thing I've ever tasted. So it must taste like chocolate. That'll always stick with me. You heard it here first. Porridge tastes like chocolate. Joyce, incidentally, is now in her late teens. She's now progressed on to secondary education, something which is all too uncommon in a country like Malawi. And Joyce has a belief in her own bright future, which is fueled by years of schooling that she might not otherwise have had, and fueled by the daily promise of porridge. Just a few quick housekeeping things before we move on and speak to our first guest today. Just an appeal, as usual in our previous family hours, to stick with us if we encounter any technical gremlins. My lovely colleagues David and Steph and Alison are looking after us today, and if anything does go wrong, we'll get back up and running ASAP. So what do we have in store for today's family hour? Well, later on, we're going to check in with supporters having porridge parties across the UK. We'll be speaking to Claire in London, Terry in Glasgow, Helen in Omagh, and Sue in Shropshire. Before that, I'm delighted to say we'll be going live to the county of Turkana in northern Kenya to chat to Amina Swedi, who is the country director of Mary's Meals Kenya. But first today, I'm so pleased to now welcome a long-time Mary's Meals supporter, Gary Maclean. Gary will be known to many of you as a previous champion of the TV series MasterChef The Professionals. He's now, in fact, Scotland's national chef and the executive chef at City of Glasgow College. Hi, Gary. I think you're on mute, Gary.
How are you doing every time? Hiya, how are you?
Yeah, not too bad at all. I should just say to everybody watching that they don't have to adjust their screens. They've not got double vision. We really are just slightly alike, you and me.
I know. I think we're brothers from another mother, as they say. It's a good look, though. I like it. You're a handsome man.
It's very easy to maintain this look, I always think.
It is. Getting away with murder.
Absolutely. By the way, I must say, Gary, it's quite embarrassing. Behind me, I've got loads of cookbooks. I've got Nigella, I've got Jamie, and it's slightly embarrassing that I've not got your cookbook. So my apologies for that.
I did notice that. We'll need to sort that out.
That'd be good. That'd be good. Listen, Gary, before we maybe get a bit of a cooking demonstration from you, I just want to say to everybody who's watching on YouTube, if there are any questions over this next segment that you'd like to put to the king of the kitchen, Gary McLean, during this segment, we will ask Gary your questions. It can be about porridge. I'm sure Gary won't mind if you ask about some other culinary delights other than that as well. So just pop them into the live chat, and as they come in, we'll ask them to Gary throughout this. Gary, just like us at Mary's Meals, you're really passionate about food and you're passionate about education.
Yeah, definitely, yeah.
A really strong support to us and our mission for some years now. Just to get us started, could you tell us a wee bit about your own work, please, what you're up to at the moment, and maybe then just a wee bit about what Mary's Meals means to you?
Yeah, I mean, my role as national chef came with like a 4-page remit, and the reality is I picked 2 things that I thought I could make the biggest impact on. One was food education for kids. So I think if kids learn how to cook, they then have a long-term, better relationship with food, particularly in Scotland, because our diet's not the best. And I think that comes back to the fact that no one knows how to cook. So getting all our kids from nursery right through to the end of high school cooking is my dream. The other thing I do a lot of work with is food poverty, and food insecurity. And again, it all reverts back to cooking. It all reverts back to giving people the knowledge to work smart with food and be able to make food cheaply, good food cheaply. So that's been my mission for the last 4 or 5 years with the national chef role. So and it's very rewarding and it's amazing. It's instantaneous when you get a kid who's made something that they said they would never eat. I don't like it, and then they come up to you and go, it's the best thing they've ever tasted, and they made it. So you change things. Food's an amazing communicator, especially with kids.
Absolutely. And could you just tell us a wee bit about how you first became aware of, got involved in the work of Mary's Meals and what supporting Mary's Meals means to you, Gary?
Yeah, I mean, I think Mary's Meals for me, I'm very patriotic Scot. And when you see things like headlines about a million kids fed from a shed in Scotland and all that sort of stuff, it kind of draws you in. And for anyone watching, you have to see the work that Mary's Meals is doing all over the world. It's just incredible. But the thing that drew me in the most was it's not about just handing stuff out. There's the education. It's long term, so teaching kids, getting them an education, and while they're getting educated, they're getting fed. So for me, I'm thinking it takes the pressure off the parents to feed their kids. They're more likely to send their kids to school. And if the kids are educated, they can work their way out of poverty. And you're looking at a generational change, but it's certainly making change. It's not just feeding, it's about that education, and you so happen to get fed. So for me, it's a very simple idea, but something I think will make a dramatic change.
Absolutely. And honestly, thank you, Gary, for being such a powerful spokesperson for our work, because that generational change you've just touched on is everything that's at the heart of Mary's Meals. The first question has come in for you, Gary. We're going to get on to a wee porridge making demo in a second, but I'll ask you the first one before we do that, which is, what's Gary's favourite porridge topping?
Oh, do you know what? I'm doing it today. Heather honey.
Heather honey.
So I kind of cheat, that whole bravado about salt and sugar in your porridge. I do both. And I always get asked that whenever I go in the world, I always get asked, do you put salt? I said, of course I put salt. Do you put sugar? No, honey. So I'm going to do both today, but I also like cinnamon. But the great thing is about porridge is that it can take anything. You can just have a look in the fruit bowl, and that's what I've done. Where we've got a re-challenge later on, but you can get things like banana and stuff like that, and so it is very versatile. It's a great, it's been keeping Northern Europe alive for centuries. So it's an amazing product, and Scotland again has claimed it as our own.
Absolutely, and now of course kids in Zambia and Zimbabwe and Malawi eating not oats but maize porridge. Also, just a huge life-sustaining meal out there. So, as you say, we're going to have a wee challenge a bit later on, which is to do our own porridge smile. And for those who are watching at home, that's something that we ask people to do to celebrate World Porridge Day. Make a wee funny picture with different ingredients in your porridge and post it on social media using the hashtag porridge smiles. Or if you don't want to do that, you can just take a picture of you smiling with a bowl of porridge or a mug of porridge. That works too. But if you're up for that, Gary, we'll have a wee competition, ask people at home to vote. But before we can get to that, you need to actually make
some porridge.
So why don't you get started on that, and we can continue blethering during it.
No worries.
So a couple of other questions, Gary, just as you get started, that are coming in from the live chat. What is your secret to making a really creamy textured porridge? I think that question assumes that a creamy texture is what you want. Maybe you don't think that, but if you do, how do you make it?
I think it's all in the stirring. So the first thing I use, you've obviously got the option of using milk or water. I always tend to use milk, especially when I'm feeding the kids and I'm going off to school. So I've got 500 ml of milk and about 100 grams of porridge. So a little goes a long way. And people, when if you were to actually measure it, I don't know if anyone really measures it out, but I don't know, fix this camera. Gimbal's been on. I don't know if anybody measures it out, but if you ever measure it out, you go, that's never going to be enough porridge. So yeah, I've got 500 ml and 100 grams of porridge oats. And this only takes about 4 minutes. And a lot of people, they use the little microwave sachets, which are quite handy sometimes. But, the microwave sachets take about 3 minutes. So if you need to do 2 or 3 of them, you're much quicker just making your own porridge, and it is much cheaper. So porridge, milk, I've got a little bit of little pinch of Scottish blackthorn sea salt. And all I want to do is just bring that up to the boil. And all we're going to do is stir it. So it's the easiest cookery demonstration ever. It doesn't take long, but you can see it's really nice and creamy. I'm using full fat milk, which I sometimes laugh about because full fat milk's kind of 4%. So if it wasn't milk, it'd be considered low fat, but that's another story.
Absolutely.
But again, it's getting these, I've got my two wee ones next door, and it was in a wee minute ago, he's saying, Dad, can I get some breakfast? And I said, yeah, what do you want? Because I thought I'll get him something quick before we go live. And he said, oh, I want porridge. I said, you're in luck. So I'll come back at 1:30, and you'll get one with your picture on it, your face on it. So
you've got 5 kids, Gary, I think, haven't you?
I have got 5, yeah.
Do they all enjoy porridge, or?
You know what? They don't. I'll be honest. I mean, just because my kids are the offspring of 2 chefs, it doesn't really mean that they go through phases like all kids. My 2 little ones love porridge, and in general they're pretty good with food. My eldest, he'll eat anything, and my 2, I've got 2 kind of 19, 20-year-old, and they're murder. Really, they're murder to feed. So dinner time in my house is almost like a restaurant.
Different orders off the menu.
I'm going to just give that a wee taste. Honestly, is that quick?
You're reminding me, just as I see you do that, I'm imagining the 80,000 volunteers Mary's Meals has in Malawi alone, and many more in other countries who do what you're doing every single morning, get their spurtles out and cook much bigger pots of porridge than the one you've got there, but to just volunteering their time to make sure that their children can be fed. And it's those volunteers really that make Mary's Meals possible, and they're the people who really own this work of ours. It's not us. Or even the people who necessarily donate. It's the people who are on the front line doing that every day who own and run our work.
And what's really good about Mary's Meals as well, you can have a look online, get on YouTube. We've got an amazing YouTube channel, and it tells you the journey and the story and the ethos of everything that we're trying to do. They're out in places like India supporting families that, really wouldn't have any other hope. So that is the porridge ready. I'm going to just drop in a little bit of cinnamon.
Yep.
And then just a little bit of heather honey.
Oh, nice. There's a question that's come in from Catherine Thompson. I think it's rhetorical. She's just asked, are you 2 twins? So I don't think we're ever going to get away with that now.
I know. Ash the on the hat. So a little bit of cinnamon, a little bit of heather honey. Final taste.
Two other kind of cooking things, Gary, related to that. Somebody's asked, do you recommend steeping your organic jumbo oats overnight? Because Alison Page has said that her husband does that. Is it the right thing to do? Do you recommend it?
Well, you can eat them. You can get your oats. You can soak them overnight in things like orange juice, and you can add almonds and various other bits and bobs, and you can eat it. You can eat it raw.
Yeah.
Which is super healthy and super trendy at the minute, and they kind of take on a completely different feel, and you get a completely different breakfast. But I'm a big fan of oats. I really am. I make things like granola and that sort of stuff. And it's also, it's full of complex carbohydrates. So, if you're sending your kids off to school with a bowl of porridge in them, they're not going to be hungry. They're going to be nice and full and sustained right up to lunchtime. Whereas some of the sort of packaged sugar-filled cereals, you're not going to get that. So it's worth making a pot of porridge. Texture's amazing, and you can add what you like. So that has, I don't know if it's the first ever salt and sugar, but that is our little bowl of porridge.
So I've got a bowl here that I made earlier, and mine looks much less appetizing than yours.
How can you hold that up straight? And you painted that. Oh, that's clever.
I did not make it to be very sloppy, so that I could do that.
I won't be holding mine up like that.
You've got the two camera set up, so we'll be able to see this from above. Wait a second. There's another thing here. Do you think that it's bad to make porridge in the microwave, Gary? Would you say it's a big no-no, or are you all right with that?
You know, I don't have any issue with microwaves, but what you've got to check is what's actually in the packet you're putting, and that's the problem. So I think you can get, you know, if it's just a natural plain porridge, I think it would be pretty much the same as I've just made. But if you're looking at things with syrup and stuff like that, and then the sugar content's really high, so you just have to be careful with that. And that's the only thing I would say. So make sure you read the packet and what you've got. But as I say, if you're feeding more than one person, you're actually quicker just doing it on the stove.
Absolutely. So, well, what you were saying about porridge filling up bellies and things, one of the things I always notice when I visit countries where Mary's Meals is serving the maize porridge, which is vitamin enriched and fortified, is that as soon as the kids have been fed, there's just a burst of energy.
Yeah, there's a smile
and the same. The teachers report the same thing. You know, when after the kids are able to eat and get back to the classroom, there's a greater degree of concentration and learning, and you know that's obviously what it's all about. Yeah. So, and
it's also a problem here in Scotland. If the kids don't have a nutritious breakfast, they don't have any concentration span. You know, a lot of kids are skipping breakfast, and obviously that's why things like the breakfast clubs and stuff have started, because you can see there's a real difference in a child that's got proper food in them going into class. So, you know, and it's behavioural, it's concentration, it's, you know, the stillness and stuff like that, the kid in the classroom.
Spot on. So let's get on to our challenge, Gary. I think, you know, us bald, beard, specs, doesn't it get any easier to make a reflection?
I'm going to do a self-portrait. I have a self-portrait on the wall.
Oh, there we go.
I've done that before. So if all else fails, if I make a mess of this one, I'm just going to produce that picture.
Somebody actually on the YouTube live chat, James Bruce, who's a great supporter of Mary's Meals, he's commented that actually he thinks you've got cartoon pics of me on your wall. So it's not actually me, James, it's Gary's self-portrait. Cool. Right. So I think you've got your Amazon Echo there, Gary. So you're going to give us a 60-second counter,
right,
to get our porridge smiles done. And then after that, we'll show them and we'll ask people at home to vote on whose was best.
No worries. Right, Alexa, 60-second timer.
1 minute. Starting.
Right, go.
Okay. It's already not.
You've been practicing.
It's already not going well, I'm afraid. Hold on. I mean, my bowl of porridge here is just so unlike porridge, so it's. Oh. Okay. How are you getting on, Gary?
Oh, rubbish.
I'm just going to try and put you off by talking to you. That's my only tactic.
Doing rubbish.
Oh. What ingredients are you using, Gary, to make your porridge smile?
You know what? I just went to the fruit bowl and I've got the usual. I've got some bananas, some apples. I've got some raisins. I've got some tangerines.
It's a very healthy porridge smile you're doing. Mine involves chocolate.
Have you got chocolate? Yeah, I was thinking about that.
So,
time up.
Is that time up?
Yeah.
Okay. You ready for the big reveal?
Alexa, stop timer.
Right, okay. Why don't I'll go first, right? Because I think we want to build up to the Master Chef, the professionals winners, and Scotland's national chef. That yours is bound to be, by all rights, better than mine.
I wouldn't count on it.
Let me, David, I don't know. I'm just speaking to David in the background. I don't know if we can put my screen as the main one at the moment. Let's see. Just give that a second, see if that's going to happen. Yeah, there we go. We're back to me being spotlighted, just so we can have a look. Oh no, it's falling apart.
Oh, that looks good.
The beard is already dying. But you see there, I've got a strawberry for the nose, got a wee bit of apple for the mouth. My beard is falling apart. There's some chia seeds in there to make the beard, you know, particularly nice. I've never eaten a chia seed in my life, but it's in my porridge.
You're just trying to be trendy.
And matchmakers for the specs.
I don't know if that's allowed. That's cheating.
So that's mine. David, could you put Gary's back and let's see Gary's one. Oh, yes.
Mine looks a bit scary.
We're coming up to Halloween though, so that's appropriate. Let's so on the live chat, we should have people voting now. Just throwing out either Gary or Daniel. I think I know which way this is going to go. But let's just give them about 10 or 15 seconds to throw their names out there, and then somebody will let me know who it is that's going to win. While we're waiting on that, Gary, let me just ask you one other question, which is a bit topical right now, which is just about the hospitality sector during this pandemic and the crisis that we're facing. Obviously, there's some new restrictions which have come in Scotland particularly, and other parts of the UK. It's just a changeable picture. What's that looking like? What's your thoughts on that?
I think to be fair, the restrictions that came in last night, my friends have got restaurants, they're just gutted. I mean, these guys have, you know, spent a lot of money being COVID secure. They've, you know, got temperature machines. They've invested in apps and track and trace and social distancing, and chefs working all day with masks on and stuff like that. And it just seems strange that they're the ones who are shut, you know, when they're the most COVID secure environments outside your own home. You know, I can understand, you know, no mixing with the families at home and everything else to try and contain it. But, you know, hospitality industry is a tough business to be in at the best of times. This year has been horrific, absolutely horrific. And I never thought in a million years that, you know, the industry would begin through, you know, what they have done this year. And as a lot of industries have suffered, there's a lot of industries that work off the back of restaurants and hospitality, taxi drivers, suppliers, you know, growers, farmers, everything. It's a massive chain of people. It's the biggest industry in Scotland, and it's getting annihilated at the minute. It's a shame.
No, it's really, really awful. And you know, anybody out there who is somebody who prays, maybe offer up a wee prayer for people who are working in Gary's line of work in the hospitality sector more broadly at the moment, because it is tough. So we've got the votes in. It looks like people are telling us it's a draw, Gary, because people are saying all I've got here to go on is the majority are saying Daniel because of the chocolate, but they'd rather eat Gary's, which I think probably means you're the winner rather than me, because all I'm getting the votes for is because I used some chocolate, whereas they'd rather, yours looked more appetizing.
I tried to avoid that. I was trying to be healthy. I used 2 Cheerios. That's the most unhealthy thing in there, is 2 Cheerios.
One
get the healthy vote. You should get the tasty vote, probably.
Absolutely. What one person says, my vote goes to the Scottish guy with the glasses. So whatever that means.
There we go.
Gary, listen, really, really just so grateful to you for joining us, having a wee bit of fun.
No, not at all.
But also, just as I said before, you've always been just a powerful spokesperson for Mary's Meals, so we really appreciate it.
No, I'm super happy to help. And the only thing I can say is anybody watching after this today, get on YouTube, have a look at what Mary's Meals does and how, you know, such a small amount of money goes a long way. Is it £15.90 to feed a kid for a year? It's nothing. You know, absolutely nothing. So get on, have a look, support. A small amount of money goes a massive, massive way with Mary's Meals.
Thank you, Gary. And my brother from another mother, I will see you soon, I hope. Cheers.
Yeah, cheers. Bye-bye.
Thanks, Gary. Fantastic. So that was excellent to be with Gary today. Thanks so much for your votes too on our little Porridge Smile challenge. Do take part in Porridge Smiles yourself on social media if you can. It's just a fun thing which helps to raise a little bit of awareness of Mary's Meals. World Porridge Day, that's the purpose of this too, is just to have a moment in time to celebrate the impact of porridge on our school feeding programs and on the children that we serve. So, please do that. And as I say, if you don't want to make a porridge smile like that, you can just take a picture of you with your mugful or your bowl full of porridge and post it out there so that your friends and family can see that you're supporting Mary's Meals today. So next up, and I'm really excited about this, is that we're going to go all the way to Turkana in Kenya. Turkana is a county in northwestern Kenya, and we're going particularly to the city of Lodwar, which is where our country director for Mary's Meals Kenya, Amina Swedi, is based. So hopefully Amina is going to be joining us just about now. Amina, you are on mute, so can I ask you just to unmute yourself first of all, if that's okay?
I have. Can you hear me?
I can hear you fine. How are you?
I'm great, Daniel. How are you?
Yeah, very, very good, very good. And so nice to see your smiling face. How are you doing this World Porridge Day? Are you doing anything to celebrate? Have you had any porridge this morning?
Oh, of course. I've had porridge. Today we have been blessed by rain. Like, Turkana, it's very, very difficult for Turkana to receive rain. So I've just had my porridge now. Very tasty, very sour and sweet, just like I like it. Yeah.
Absolutely. No, that is amazing that it's raining in Lodwar, because obviously it is well known to be an extremely dry place. One of the reasons that it's always in a crisis levels of food insecurity are pretty much constant there. But just before we come on to talking a wee bit about the work there and a bit more about Turkana and more broadly Kenya, porridge in Kenya, I believe, is called uji. Am I pronouncing that correct? It's uji.
Yes.
Yeah. And what are some differences? Because you've been to Scotland and you've seen the porridge that we eat. What are some of the differences between our porridge and Kenyan porridge?
Oh my goodness, there's a huge difference. So first of all, our porridge has to be, sour. So it's mostly fermented. And I have seen, some communities in Kenya where they're going to use different items like put beans inside the porridge, like the grinded beans. Some will put the small fish because they feel like, it's very nutritious. So when you compare our porridge to Scotland, we like ours thin because for me personally, I like it, with an accompaniment, mostly chapati. When I tasted Scotland porridge, it was super, super sweet and thick. So that's the difference. And also your porridge is white. Ours mostly it's brown. So yeah.
Ah, okay. And you drink your porridge rather than eating it?
Yes, we drink. So I drink my porridge other than eating it. So I will drink it from my cup, not using the spoon as I saw it in Scotland. But also why I like our porridge is it can last you long from breakfast until lunch. Yeah.
Absolutely. No, so that's how thin it is. It's drunk, and that's just so strange for Scottish people and probably for people in the UK more broadly that you're actually drinking it. But listen, we don't actually serve the maize porridge to the kids who eat Mary's Meals in Kenya. That's in other countries that we're working in, as I mentioned earlier, Malawi and Zambia and Zimbabwe. In Kenya, though, we do still make sure that we procure food locally wherever possible, and that we're using food which is appropriate to local tastes. So while the maize porridge, meets that criteria in other countries, what is it in Kenya that we're serving, Amina? And why is it important that we support kind of the local farmers by buying local food, but also meeting local kids' taste? Why is that important?
Okay, so what we serve in Kenya is called githeri. Githeri is a mixture of maize and beans. And it's one of the food that we like it here in Kenya. For example, when I went to school, when I was in secondary school, that's what we were taking. The reason as to why people love githeri is because it's so filling. So when you eat it, you are able to stay longer and also be able to concentrate in class. I think why it's important for us to support the local farmers is because most of these farmers are parents of these children whom we are feeding. And it means that when we buy food from them, we are boosting the economy of Kenya, but also, give them money to be able to fend for the family, to be able also to buy just books and uniforms. Also, something like, maize and beans is readily available here in Kenya. so it's easy for us to get it. Also, I think, us just buying food from farmers, we get it when it's of good quality, it's very fresh. And so children are consuming food that is fresh, as opposed to, having food that are full of preservatives. And remember, we are working with young children mostly. And, it's important. This is now the important time of the development stage, where we don't want to use any, preservatives.
Absolutely, and that chimes quite well with what Gary Maclean, Scotland's national chef's just been talking about, that some kind of pre-made porridge mixtures and things can be full of preservatives, but making it fresh and having fresh food is so important, especially for growing children. So that's great. So can you, Amina, just give us a wee bit of an overview of two things? One, just yourself and your history with Mary's Meals. Some people watching may remember you from being physically at a couple of events here in the UK a few years ago that you spoke at in Glasgow and in London, but it'd be great to hear a wee bit about your personal history. And then after that, maybe just a little bit of an overview of our work in Kenya. Where is it we're working, and how many kids are we feeding there now?
Okay. So I've worked with Mary's Meals for 4 years, 5 months now. I started as a school feeding manager. At that time, I was based in a region where we had started, is the first place where we started doing our school feeding program. So from school feeding manager, I became a program manager, mainly based in Turkana. Turkana is now our biggest operation area. And now I am the country director. My main role as the country director is to lead a wonderful team of 38 staff who have been amazing in supporting me to implement the program. Also, my main goal here as the country director is just to ensure that we deliver the strategy, which is mostly guided by our vision, mission, and values. And most importantly, it is child-centered, so it's focused towards the child. Currently, where we are working, so we're working in 4 counties. That is Turkana, which I've mentioned. Uasin Gishu is our first region, the first region we ever entered when we started feeding in Kenya, and we work in Kisii and Nyamira. In all these regions where we are working in, there's a reason as to why we are there. Basically, it's the need. So we got into Uasin Gishu after the 2007 post-election violence, which left many families internally displaced, and they were susceptible to poverty and hunger. And so our focus in Uasin Gishu is in informal settlement, which is same as slum area. In Kisii, our schools are along the border of 2 tribes, so the Kisii and Maasais. Also, they've been having clashes, and so there's a lot of instability there, and it's difficult for children to go to school. And so by Mary's Meals going there, it now allows children to go to school. In Turkana is the second largest big county in Kenya. It is ranked as the first county with high poverty rate. It is very, very dry, and also it has high illiteracy rate. So we are in Turkana just to be able to work with the government and the communities to ensure that these children get education at the end of the day. To date, we are supporting a total of 414 schools, just from 25 schools when we started in Eldoret. So that's just a bit of a background of Mary's Meals Kenya.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Amina. And as you say, you're leading an amazing team in Kenya that's made all of that growth possible. And because of the generosity of many of the people working, that's why we've been watching rather, is why we've been able to do that. As you know, I was very, very fortunate to visit you in Lodwar in Turkana a wee while back. One of the things I always remember about it is that saying that the Turkana people have, no smoke, no school, meaning, of course, that if there's no smoke rising from fires which are cooking the food, then the incentive for children to go to school is just much lessened. No smoke, no school. It's just such a powerful phrase, I suppose, that I remember from that visit. And of course, because of the COVID-19 pandemic, for a while, for different reasons than normal, there's been no school. Could you maybe just talk us through what the experience has been for Mary's Meals in Kenya in terms of school closures, how we've managed to adapt our programme, and maybe then give us the most up-to-date information about how schools are hopefully starting to reopen at this point?
So, in Kenya, we recorded our first case on 13 March. And on 16th March, the schools were closed indefinitely. So we got a government directive that schools were closed indefinitely. This COVID-19 has brought so many challenges in Kenya. We've had discussions with the parents whom we're working closely with, and many of them have lost their jobs. Yeah. So one of the things that we feared when the schools were closed indefinitely was what was going to happen to our kids, how our kids how they were going to survive now that we are feeding in schools as opposed to feeding at home. So what we did is we came up with the Mary's Meals intervention, whereby we decided now to feed at home, and parents now were coming to schools to bring in the home rations, because the government had communicated that now children will be studying at home as opposed to in school now because of the indefinite closure. And so still the bigger challenge here is poverty. Poverty is what is the reason why Mary's Meals is in a place like Turkana. It means that even as much as the government had communicated that children were going to study at home, still they'll still be hungry. So immediately what we did is we worked with the communities, with the government. This is Turkana government and Uasin Gishu government, just to find ways of how we could reach out to these children, but also at the same time just ensure that they're getting the education at home. So we came up with a whole distribution plan, which mostly was anchored on community, strong participation and contribution. And we started now reaching out to these children while they were at home, which, to be honest, it has been very, very impactful. We've received so many great testimonials from parents. Parents who had lost hope, now, they have hope. They're so appreciative. And to us now, it's still, normal. It's normal to us because these kids already are still getting food. Yeah.
Yeah. And what's Mary's Meals' role, Amina, been in helping to promote public health messages at this time? Have we been able to get involved? One of the big strengths of Mary's Meals, wherever we operate, is usually our very strong relationship with local communities, and also the partnership we have with governments to make our programs happen. Have we been able to use those strong relationships to help spread, good public health messaging around hand washing, etc., during the pandemic?
Yeah. Yes, we've been able to do that. From the get-go, even before COVID-19, Mary's Meals has always, taken pride in working or collaborating with communities and governments. We know at the end of the day, we cannot do it alone. And so we have to, partner with the necessary stakeholders on the ground to be able to do this. So at the moment, we've partnered with the Ministry of Health to support us in relaying this information to the parents and the community members, and also to children. So before we start doing any distribution, you have to do community sensitization. Like you've been in Turkana and you know how remote this place is. It means that even a family will not have a radio or a TV to be able to get this information. And majority of families here have high literacy rate at their homes. So even just being able to decode that information coming from radio or TV is hard. So we've been partnering with Ministry of Health, where we go to the communities and demonstrate practically on what we mean by COVID-19. And this has really helped, because also parents have come to us and told us, okay, well, now we understand what COVID-19 is all about. We've also partnered with the national government, where they've been able to provide us with security, because there are other organizations which try to do distribution at community level, and because of not proper planning, and also it's something that is new to everyone. There was a lot of stampede that was recorded and many deaths, and so for us, we were keen just to ensure that we do this in a proper way, while we can be able to manage crowd. And so the partnership has been amazing with the government.
Fantastic. And we've been talking today already about the queues of children who are metaphorically waiting for Mary's Meals. And through this period of COVID-19, I suppose one of the challenges will have been, not just, we'll be concentrating on just being able to make sure we can adapt the programme to reach the existing children who are enrolled. But obviously, Mary's Meals, we're always keen, with the support of our great fundraisers, and as funds allow, to be able to reach out as quickly as we possibly can to new children. Have we managed recently to expand to new children in the Kenya program?
Yes, we've managed to expand to new children. This was necessitated by, the many requests we were receiving from communities that we had not reached. Because at the moment, our main goal was to keep our commitment to the children already we are feeding. So we received letters, requests from parents. And because we appreciated the need, we currently appreciate the need, we decided to expand further. So we've expanded to 72 additional nursery schools. And at the moment, we're reaching 6,947, children. I think, again, it's important for me just to mention, Daniel, is even while we're trying to keep our commitment to the children we already feed, we received a few challenges, here and there. So like I've mentioned, Turkana is very dry and we only receive rain once or twice. But lately we've been experiencing erratic weather patterns whereby, rain will just pour all of a sudden. And so during this distribution, we were experiencing, flood, and our staff could not be able to cross over to, distribution centers and support. And so through our partnership communities, we were able to reach out to places where we could not reach. Also, COVID-19 brought with it, hunger issues because the borders were closed. So at the moment, Turkana is bordering 3 countries. And so mainly one of them is Uganda border. So we have like 4 schools who are along the border. And because of, the poverty due to lack of, trade happening in the border, the community experienced cattle rustling coming, and, they had to flee the area. And so we worked with the village elders and the area chief to be able to reach out to these children. So we've tried as much as possible to reach out to, children who are already in our existing commitment, but also to expand at the same time.
And, so many people at home will be so uplifted by the fact that through this extremely difficult period for us all, everybody who is experiencing hardship right now, but you and your amazing team with the support of communities and local volunteers have managed to add more than 6,000 kids to our program in Kenya. So well done, huge well done for that, Amina. And last question there's one question that's come in from the live chat that I'll just ask you quickly before I move on to my final question, which is, do the children normally have to travel far to get to school?
Yes. How our centers are made here in Turkana is you'll get one center, which is, we call them centers, but they are nursery schools or early childhood development centers. So you'll find that a center is located probably 2 kilometers or 3 kilometers away from a community. So a community is where now these children are coming from. So it means that these children might walk, 2 kilometers, depending on where the community is, 2-3 kilometers, one trip and another 2 kilometers. So that's like 4 kilometers to be able to, just get this food, and get education at the same time.
Excellent. Thank you. That answers that person's question. And final thing, just wonder if you've got a particular message that you want to impart to those supporters, mainly in the UK, but there might be some other countries joining us today as well. What would you like to say to them, Amina?
I would like to say a big thank you to them and also to everyone who is involved in this, global movement. I think it's because of our collaborative effort that we are able to reach out to, these children. Clearly, the regions that we are in at the moment are regions of need, especially in Turkana. But by us just, reaching out to these children, even during this pandemic, gives them a glimpse of hope. We've received testimonials from parents who are saying, at least they're seeing, the green light at the end of the tunnel, and they are assured that their children are going to live. I wanted just to read one quote from one parent because I think I owe it to them, because their message is even more powerful than my message. And there's a quote from a parent called Imoni Lokele. Actually, she's a guardian. She's a grandmother, about 76 years old, and she has a grandson attending one of our school called Naoro's ECDs. And she says that during birth, a seed is planted. That seed is your uniqueness. It wants to grow, transform itself, and flower to its full potential. I see Mary's Mill's life task is to bring that seed to flower, to express your uniqueness through its work. Happy work, Mary's Mills, and thank you for everyone making it possible. So that's a really powerful message coming from, a parent.
Absolutely beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing that with us, Amina. And thanks so much for taking the time to join us on World Porridge Day. It's been great to see you and hope to see you again in person before too long.
Yeah, I hope so too, Daniel. Thank you.
Cheers, Amina. Say hello to all the team there.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Wow. I hope you found that as interesting and as powerful as I did, especially that quote at the end, but all of the interesting things that Amina shared with us about our work in Kenya. She is an incredibly inspiring person herself. We're very lucky in Mary's Meals to have a number of fantastic leaders in different countries, but Amina's leadership we're particularly grateful for and lucky to have. We're going to go over now to porridge parties taking place in a couple of different parts of the UK. So I'm just going to ask David, who's working with us on the tech side, to just welcome in the 4 different locations that we're going to go to. If you just bear with us while that happens. We've got Claire there. Claire, you're just on mute. If you wouldn't mind, that's you. How are you doing?
Hi, hello everyone. I'm here with my sister and both of our boyfriends, James and Casper. And we've done our little competition as well. We were following you earlier. So here's my porridge smile.
Oh wow! Well done, guys.
So we did a combination of some healthy fruit and also added some chocolate.
Oh, superb! So you've done a bit like what Gary and I did between you, so that's good. Let me just say hello to everybody else. So we've got Terry, who's in. So sorry, before I go on to Terry, Claire's in London, and great to see everybody with Claire. Terry is in Glasgow. Sue is in Shropshire, and she's with her grandchildren. And Helen is in Omagh. And let's hello. How are you all doing? I'm just going to come to you each individually, if you don't mind, to ask you a few different questions. Just first of all, Claire and her gang were just showing us their porridge smiles. Is there anybody else who's got a porridge smile to show us?
Yes. Yes.
Oh, we do.
Hey.
Fantastic.
Wow.
Oh, brilliant. Oh, and Terry's got.
It's gone.
That's even worse than mine was, Terry. Oh, and Helen's got hers as well. Fantastic. Thank you, guys. And thanks so much for celebrating World Porridge Day today with us. Claire, I'll come back to you first of all. You're a community volunteer for Mary's Meals in London, and you've also been involved in some very impressive fundraising initiatives recently. Can you tell us a wee bit about that and how you've been celebrating World Porridge Day?
Yeah, I'd love to. So I've been a community ambassador for a couple of years now, and first heard about Mary's Meals at school through Malona, who is a global ambassador. And my mother and father, who are actually watching as well, so hello to you. They've also been volunteering for a couple of years. And last year, we decided to try and sponsor a school for a year. So we fundraised by running across Hadrian's Wall, which is 84 miles. And we also arranged a black tie ball for 200 people. And managed to double our target. So almost did enough to feed 2 schools for a year. And to celebrate World Porridge Day next week, I'm actually doing a Zoom speaking with the Rotary Club at Enfield Chase. And they're trying to put on a bit of brand awareness and show the new film about Letty.
Superb. And that's obviously part of your role as a community volunteer. What would you say, Claire, to people watching who are interested in volunteering for Mary's Meals, but maybe not sure whether to take the leap? What would you say about being a community volunteer to encourage them?
Well, there's no pressure at all. It's really fun. Every time I come back from a rags to riches weekend, I honestly just find it incredibly joyful. It's always quite entertaining. There's a great mix of people and it's so easy. It's such a simple solution, and the fact that you can feed a child for just £15 for an entire year is obviously incredible. So sign up. There's no pressure. You can do whatever you want.
Absolutely. And during this period of the pandemic, when maybe we're not able to do kind of talks in person and all of that, can you reassure people that there's still plenty to do and that they can do from home?
There's a lot. So, I mean, if you're into social media, then you can share what we're doing today with the YouTube Live, which I think is such a good opportunity to try and share different stories. There's some fantastic films that you can try and get your parents to watch or get involved with some of your groups. I mean, we've all been on Zoom now for 6-7 months, but it's still a really good way to try and connect with different community groups, running groups, and as I said, with the Rotaries as well, who do so much work and fundraising for Mary's Meals.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Let's go from Fulham over to Glasgow, alongside where I am, to Terry Strain. Terry is a teacher at St Roch's Secondary School in Glasgow, long-time supporter of Mary's Meals. And Terry, you and your pupils have been undertaking a porridge fast, I believe. Could you tell us a wee bit about that?
Yes, we a couple of weeks ago, just before the September weekend break, we did a 3-day porridge fast, starting on Monday at lunchtime, finishing on Thursday at lunchtime, where the pupils and staff who took part could only eat porridge. They could drink water, and I have to admit, I did coffee in the mornings. But to eat, only porridge for 3 days. We've sponsored a school through Mary's Meals, Kawali Primary School in Malawi, and the money raised was going towards our targets for that. So it was fantastic. I think we had about 18 pupils who took part, about 10 staff. We did it last year as well. We had about 20 staff and people's husbands and wives and so on. So it was a fantastic fundraiser for us, but also in school this time, it really raised awareness of the work of Mary's Meals and also the choices that we have. We have the choice to not eat the porridge, and we can, after the 3 days, eat what we like. So it was very good for that, and then bringing about lots of discussion with the young people. We've also got a Caritas group of senior pupils who were heavily involved in that, and they've kind of really taken it on board and have been doing lots of work around the school to promote the work of Mary's Meals. But also, it's not just about giving money as well, it's about raising the issues, and they've been looking at different, looking at the reasons. I don't know if you can hear my daughter crying in the background. I think she's and just about raising the issues of poverty and hunger around the world, and that they've been going into different classes and doing presentations. So it's a real catalyst for helping young people to learn more about the work of Mary's Meals and the issues that Mary's Meals are trying to tackle.
Yeah, no, and St Roch's has been just a bastion for Mary's Meals of great awareness raising and support. So just so grateful to you for spearheading much of that, Terry. And you obviously are somebody who's had the privilege, like me and a couple of others on this this Zoom at the moment, of going out to Malawi and experiencing that country firsthand, and also seeing Mary's Meals in action. Are there any reflections you would like to share about kind of those experiences that you've been able to have?
When I first went to Malawi, it was in 2009 on a school trip. But I wasn't a teacher then. I've only been a teacher for 4 years. I was a youth and community worker. And the experience of going to Malawi really made me think about my career, and then subsequently changed career, went back to uni and did my postgrad and became a teacher. And the experience of being in Malawi and seeing people who are in real poverty, but have so much warmth and love to give, really makes you think about yourself and your own situation in perspective. And real cliche, but not to take things for granted as much as we do. And that's inspired me, since becoming a teacher and having only taught in St Roch Secondary in Glasgow. It's inspired me to bring the work of Mary's Meals to the fore there, and we've really, it has kind of spread all across the school, in most departments, to the point where it's now I'm kind of stepping back, and loads of other staff and young people are on board, and that has come from the experience of me being in Malawi. I have made some of the best friends that I've still got, with Malawian people, and I got a couple of messages this morning actually wishing me luck for this. So I don't know if they can watch it because it's a UK. Anyway, they'll get to see it at some point. But yeah, that experience in Malawi has been life-changing for me. And again, that's a cliche, but it really has been. And many young people who've the pleasure of going across to Malawi and spending time and building relationships with people in Malawi. And
well, I understand that there are a couple of Malawians joining us, so they may well be some of your mates. So they've definitely got a few from the warm heart of Africa today. Thanks a lot, Terry. Just moving on to another group of people who have a great, strong connection to that country, to Sue, who's got two very special guests with her, Bella and Brooke, your grandchildren, Sue.
Hi, good morning.
Hi. How are you all doing today on World Porridge Day?
Good, thank you.
Have you had your bowl of porridge this morning yet?
No, it's still sat here waiting. I think you might have to warm it up a bit.
And I understand, Sue, that Bella actually was born in Malawi. Could you tell us a wee bit about that?
Yeah,
How long did you live there for, Bella?
I lived there for the first few years until I was about 3 years old.
Fantastic. So that's a really powerful connection that you've got with that country, and that's where Mary's Meals feeds a huge number of children. Over 1 million of the kids that we feed are in Malawi. And so you've seen Mary's Meals firsthand again, like Terry on the ground in Malawi.
That's right. Obviously, we visited Malawi quite a few times to see a baby, and while we were there, we went and visited where they collect the backpacks. That was brilliant to see. And then we arranged to go and visit a school and spent some time with the headmistress, who told us how life-changing it had been since Mary's Meals had started feeding their children, and showed us their work and said how much their work had improved because they were coming to school and getting their meal every day. She also said about how far they walked each day. Sometimes it would be miles to get to school, but they wanted to come because they wanted to learn. And the bowl of maize porridge just helped them learn so much easier. We saw the ladies that prepared the porridge. They're quite often relatives or just volunteers. Again, they walk for miles with the firewood on their heads, and they've got this huge vat. They make a fire under it, and they were all dancing and singing as they stirred their porridge. So yeah, pretty life-changing for everybody, including the farmers that grow the maize. It's just an amazing thing to see. And what were the children like, Bella?
They were all really happy and smiling. They were all dancing around.
Absolutely. I know exactly what you mean. It's so fantastic to see
There's
it.
so much joy, isn't there? They are so happy. They've got so little, and yet they are so happy. It's just it changes your life, like the other chap said. It is life changing.
So we've actually got a message that's come in on the live chat, which is a shout out to Bella from Helen Lawson.
Oh wow!
Whose daughter was great friends with Bella in Malawi.
Oh, how lovely!
There's a wee shout out for you, Bella.
Hello, Bella.
So you've gone on now to be, like Claire, a community volunteer for Mary's Meals. Can you just tell us a wee bit about what you enjoy of that role?
I've been doing it for about 8 years now, and as Helen said, there's no pressure. I get invited into schools. It's quite funny. I had a phone call last year from yourselves in Glasgow, I think, saying, "Are you anywhere near a school in Shropshire called Farlow?" And I can actually see it out of my window. So I thought that was amazing that they'd actually contacted you and you'd found me. So I went in and did an assembly there, took a film, a DVD in for them to watch. And then they collected things for the backpack. Quite often we'll just leave them with a mug, hold the mug up, which they can just put their pennies into. We find that if they just put 20p's in there, normally there's enough to feed a child for a year. So it really is just simple, excuse me, acts of love. And yeah, it's great. Again, I've been around quite a few of the Rotary clubs talking, been doing some Zoom coffee mornings with friends over lockdown. And instead of them buying the coffee and the cake we'd have if we met up, they donate it to Mary's Meals. So it all just makes such a difference to these children's lives. It's fantastic. I went into your school, didn't I, Brooke? Where's that?
Italy.
And what did we do there?
You took a DVD and you handed out badges.
That's right. It's the children that all contributed, had a badge, didn't they, saying Mary's Meals on it.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much. Last but not least at all, we're going to head over to Northern Ireland, to Oma, and to Helen. Who are you with today, Helen? Who's that behind you?
Hello, Daniel. I have some of my family here having their porridge. I have my son Matthew, my daughter Julianne, my husband Jared, and my son Brendan, who are all having their porridge here as well.
Hi, everyone.
Hi.
Thanks for joining us, Helen. And I just want, before we move on to one of your amazing connections to the continent of Africa, I want to reassure people at home that getting involved in Mary's Meals doesn't mean that you have to have a really special connection with an African country or have visited before. It just so happens that quite a few of us on this Zoom today have actually been able to do that. And in your case, Helen, you taught previously in Zimbabwe, which is a relatively new country for Mary's Meals.
Yes.
We've just begun in the last couple of years. Could you tell us a wee bit about that and why it is that you love supporting Mary's Meals?
Yeah, I worked in Zimbabwe for 3 years as a teacher, so I saw firsthand, the struggle it is for the children to get to school. As Sue mentioned, how far they have to walk. They have to pay to go to school, so a lot of them would take a year out and work on farms to get the money, to get the fees for the following year. So a lot of the children I was teaching were actually older than me when I was teaching there. And I've seen the struggle it is for them and how important it is for them to have their education. And if they don't have food, then they're not going to be able to learn or concentrate properly. And the reason I support Mary's Meals is because the aid goes directly to where it's needed. Because the money goes to local farmers that bring the local maize into the school where it's cooked into the sadza or the mealie meal porridge by volunteer parents. So the overheads are very low and the money's going directly to where it's needed. And I work with the OMA Mary's Meals group, which is run by Agnes and Jackie Walsh. So hello, Agnes and Jackie. And we do street collections and bag packs, and we collected clothes from the local football club, and we've taken part in the sponsored walk every year, which goes right across Ireland and culminates in Knock in August. This year we didn't have so many walkers because of the whole COVID, and we were actually a bit concerned about how we were going to get enough funds. So we started praying, and I got a phone call from an anonymous donor who said, I want to meet you in a car park. And he handed me a bag with £4,000 and £20 notes in the bag and said, that's for me. So prayer works. And it's just about, spreading the word that, every little helps. It doesn't have to be a lot, very little helps. One of the things that I really took back from Zimbabwe was how lucky kids here are to have a football. Kids there were trying to play ball. They had no football. They would scrunch up a newspaper. Sometimes they didn't even have a piece of string to tie it, and they would just kick the piece of scrunched up newspaper until it fell to pieces, and then they would scrunch it up again. So if you have a football, you're lucky. If you have a bowl of porridge, you're lucky. Just be happy and grateful for what you have, and do a wee bit to help other people if you can. Absolutely.
Thanks, Helen. And that story about the money handover in the car park, it's brilliant. And I'm sure we've taken that money now and put it to good use. Listen, guys, thank you so much for joining us. I'm just going to go around each group, and I'm just going to ask you to give me one word that you think describes Mary's Meals. When you think about Mary's Meals, what is the one word that comes to mind most? More than any other word. So we'll go to Claire and her gang in London there, who are all sitting patiently. What's your word from London?
I would say joy.
And perfect, absolutely. Anybody else want to give a word?
From what I can gather, sorry. No, Terry.
I'll go for community. Community is my word.
Absolutely, brilliant. Joy and community, definitely. Back to Claire's gang. Sorry.
No, I entirely agree. Joy.
Cool.
Daniel, I've just realised that you were going round the four people sitting with Claire and the Glaswegians jumping in.
You're no stranger to live performance with your bagpipe band and all that, so live performance goes wrong sometimes. Absolutely. So don't worry about it. Joy, community from Terry. Let's go to Sue then, and Bella and Brooke. What's your word?
Smiling.
Oh. Thank you so much.
Love. What about you, Brooke? Same.
Love.
Oh. So we've had love, we've had smiling, we've had community, we've had joy, all amazing words. Over to Oma for the last word.
I would say hope. It's bringing hope to so many wee lives that really desperately need it.
Absolutely. No, thank you so much. They're all amazing words to leave everybody thinking about today. Guys, thank you so much. Thanks for showing your porridge smiles. Thanks for joining us. Thanks for all your efforts for Mary's Meals, and we'll catch up soon, I hope.
Thank you very much. Have a nice day. Bye-bye.
Cheers, guys. So we'll just let everybody get offline first before I just wrap up. That was fantastic. I hope you enjoyed that. It was nice to hear the different voices and the different experiences of Mary's Meals, and definitely those different words that people use to describe Mary's Meals and this work of ours. We've kind of not lived up to our billing as being a family hour today. We're about 13 or 14 minutes over, so sorry about that. But just to say, to conclude things for today, thanks so much to everybody for joining us again. I hope you've enjoyed our third Mary's Meals UK Family Hour. I'm sure everybody's off to continue with their porridge parties. If you've not held a porridge party before, you can do it at any point through this month of October, the month of that World Porridge Day lands in. You can use the whole month to do a porridge party. And a bit like the porridge smiles, it's really just an opportunity to raise awareness of this work of ours. You know, we just use these opportunities to act really in solidarity with all these children who are managing to reach today with a nutritious meal in general, but those countries particularly where we're able to serve vitamin-enriched maize porridge. So hold a porridge party. I know that in this age of social distancing and the challenges that exist around the pandemic, we're not able to invite all of our friends and family along, but just in your own household, your own bubble, or doing an online porridge party is good as well. So please do that if you can. If you want to donate as part of World Porridge Day, you can visit our website, or we're asking people to donate at the moment through a text giving code via your mobile phones. Alison, my lovely colleague Alison, is going to put details of that, I think, in the YouTube live chat. So please think about doing that. And, you know, other than donating to Mary's Meals, there's, as you've just been hearing, lots of ways you can get involved in our work, particularly through being a community volunteer. And as Claire and Sue and others were mentioning there, during COVID, when we're not able to be out and about physically as much as we would normally, there's still plenty to do. And you don't need to be a technical expert to get involved either. I know that some people might feel that there might be a bit of a technical learning curve because things are happening online at the moment. But our team are here at Mary's Meals to be able to support anybody who wants to be a community volunteer to be able to do that. So please just visit our website at www.marysmeals.org.uk to find out more about that community volunteer role if you would like to do it. And there is one final thing. Oh, sorry, just before I move on, I'm just hearing there that there's lots of amazing messages coming in on the live chat about how amazing those supporters are that we've just been hearing from across different parts of the UK. So thanks for those lovely comments. The last thing for me today is something that I just need to be quite careful about what I say, because it's something which we're not allowed to announce formally at the moment. And I've been forbidden from saying too much about it. But I just want to give you a heads up that, as in previous years around about this time, we are expecting soon to be able to have a match funding campaign in the UK for Mary's Meals. So that would mean that over a particular period, probably starting from around the beginning of November, people are going to be able to donate to Mary's Meals and have that money that they give matched pound for pound. I can't say too much again about that, but I just want to make people aware of it so that as we come into the season of giving in the lead up to Christmas, people are aware that is likely to be the case. So all that it remains for me to do is to just thank you so much again for sharing our vision that every child in the world should receive a nutritious daily meal in school. And please remember to give us your feedback again, and hopefully we'll see you at another family hour sometime soon. Thank you so much, and goodbye, and have a great weekend.